Hello. Welcome back to the Trading Triangle. Happy Easter, Kaye. How are you doing?
Easter, Sean, and happy Easter to everybody who's watching and celebrating.
I'm sure they're watching this while they're on the Easter egg hunt, so I can predict that now. Obviously, massive disclaimer before we start. Obviously, there's a couple of guys looking at charts on the internet, so it's not financial advice. We like to give our thoughts and perspectives, but yeah, and a kind of kind way, should we say. Massive thank you to Wolf as well for letting us use the platform. We couldn't do it without you. We really appreciate it. And of course, last little thing, put your tickers in the comments, and obviously we'll get to them a little bit later on. Normally takes us about 15-20 minutes to get through the first kind of market overview, the earnings, the kind of fear and greed index, and obviously our own weekly picks as well. So yeah, stick them in the comments. We'll be happy to go through some of them. I'll leave that up for now. And yeah, I'm just going to ask you a question, Kay. How was your week in general? Okay?
Well, the week was, I would say, these weeks have been pretty tiring. Like each day feels each day feels like a week, I would say. So you're looking at 5 weeks in 5 days.
Yeah.
I would say that it is truly a trader's market. If you are not day trading, it will become difficult. But yeah, I mean, it's been tiring, I would say, overall. Just the news cycle and I mean, things change based on what the news comes out. Unlike previously, we would be looking at these events like, Jerome Powell speaking or inflation, CPI coming out, PPI coming out, earnings coming out. Those are more,
Routine.
very standard set of events that you can plan your trades around. Now the problem is, hey, China is not talking to United States wants to make a deal, but they don't want to call China. And then you have these hand actions happening, so that's the problem.
I was saying to you actually before the stream, I've actually muted my X notifications because there's just been so many of them in the last 2 or 3 weeks. I still get them if I click on the app, but yeah, it's just been absolutely crazy. And like you said, it is a trader's market, and with that, we'll just air a word of caution. It's okay to take breaks every now and then if you're finding a bit of overwhelm. It's been pretty tough as well for me, at least personally, recently, just overall with the markets. So I'm kind of pacing myself with that and obviously going with the flow and obviously doing my own thing at my own pace. So yeah, obviously keep putting the tickers in the comments. We'd love to see it. Obviously, happy Easter as well to Justin. Good to see you once again. Thank you for coming back. And obviously your request of Amazon and Microsoft as well. We'll get to that a little bit later on. But before, let's jump into this slideshow. If I take that away, does that bring it back up? No, cool. Awesome. Right, let's go back to that one. So obviously April 21st, almost at the end of April already, Kay. It's unbelievable.
Crazy. Like we are almost touching May. It's going to get summer in no time.
Wow, yeah. So last week's market overview, we can see Meta down 13%, is probably the biggest number on there. And then we've got Amazon, Tesla, NVDA all around kind of 7%. And a little bit less, we've got Google and Microsoft at the top left-hand corner there, sitting around 3 to 4%. Obviously, we're kicking off earnings seasons this week. I think we'll get to that in a second, but I think we've got Google this week ahead. Which will be interesting to see. Netflix did well, didn't they, on Thursday? I didn't see the details of that because I had family over for the weekend. So yeah, I didn't see the details of that report. I might look into it a little bit later on. But yeah, did you see anything on the Netflix earnings, or did you?
I've been so busy with work and everything, but I know that they did beat earnings, and it was I think it was a blowout earnings for Netflix.
Awesome.
And yeah, they had both top line and bottom line beat. Their price targets have been raised as well. I mean, this was a stock like 2-3 years back. The folks were like, it's the end of Netflix, and now it's back in the race. Almost it was like $1,000. It dropped with the whole market dropping, and it's a back up to 973. Crazy.
It's an incredible price action. Still the king of streaming.
I feel like I think it's time for Netflix to do a split, because now it's getting very difficult if you like to sell options, or it starts being difficult with $1,000 stock now.
Maybe they're going to save that for next quarter release.
I think so. But I mean, at this point in time, I hope they do a split so that retail traders can start taking advantage of at least selling options on Netflix.
Exactly right. And then lastly, of course, we've got Apple there at top left-hand corner, plus 4%. I think it was the only Mag 7 stock that was actually green, if I'm not mistaken. And then with that, we'll jump onto the next slide. Obviously, the fear and greed index was still sitting in extreme fear, but a little bit higher this week, Kaye, at 21. 1 week ago, we were at 19. I think the week before, we were at kind of 3 or something.
3 or 4, something like that. Yeah. So
the market is slowly recovering.
It is. And if you remember the put to call ratio, we were at 1. And imagine this is the whole market's put to call ratio and an average of 5 days. So now we were like 0.92 last week. Now we are 0.86. So it's getting the general ones. Generally it stays around 0.75, 0.76. So we still have some room to recover. But that's where the average put to call ratio stays, which just goes to show that the market in general is more bullish as opposed to bearish. So if it starts getting closer to 1, which means the bearish sentiment is taking over. And it's not like this is the only metric to track, but it kind of gives you a idea on the sentiment of the market. So if you start seeing the average put to call ratio starts, climbing, inching towards 1, which starts to show that it's a very bearish sentiment among investors and traders.
Interesting to see it come down so far then, isn't it?
Even VIX, look at the VIX. VIX was what, 35 last week? It was above 40, touching 50, I think.
Yeah.
Now coming, like we are used to the VIX of being between 14 to 18. We're sitting at 29 right now.
Yeah, it's interesting. We do have the market open tomorrow, don't we? Because in the UK it's not.
It's open. Friday was closed because of Good Friday.
Yeah.
So it was only a short week. We are back to the full week this week.
Awesome. Obviously, we've got some key events there as well. Earnings and Fed speakers kind of throughout the week, which we'll get into in the next slide. And obviously initial jobless claims as well. I think that's it for news, but there will definitely be some breaking news throughout the week, as there always has been in the last couple of months, really, to be fair.
Yeah, I think the key would be, again, those trade deals that the administration is currently engaged on, right? So unless we start getting those deals on, we'll probably see the market sideways trade, I think.
Interesting. Right, let's move on to the earnings then. So we're kicking off earnings week from last week pretty much, but we're really diving into it this week. We've got Tesla, which is a big name, obviously Tuesday after market close, and then of course Google on Thursday after market close as well. A couple of other big names on there as well. You've got kind of Boeing and American Airlines. You've got the airlines kind of coming through there. Anything else pointing off the page there? Obviously Intel's there.
You have Intel, you have Alphabet, you have AbbVie on that front. I think Boeing will be very interesting. I mean, apart from Tesla, the big one, the big dog of the week, but I think the Boeing will be very interesting because with the whole trade war happening and China kind of saying, "Hey, we are not going to take those Boeing planes." Will be interesting to see what the comment will be, because I'm pretty sure the analysts are going to ask that question on the future guidance.
Could be a volatile day for airlines then, couldn't it?
Yeah.
Awesome. So we move on from earnings already. Wow. I thought we'd spend a little bit more time on it, but I'm guessing there's lots of names on here that are kind of routine names, nothing too exciting. But yeah.
Tesla would be, I think a lot of folks will be watching Tesla very closely, considering the June robotaxi event is inching closer, like maybe 2 months from here, 2 months from now. Did they announce a date? Do you know if they have announced a date?
I've not heard a date, no. Normally it's quite vocal as well, so I'm sure we'll get that news as soon as it comes along. Just lastly, actually, we've got Enphase as well on Tuesday after market close. It'll be interesting to see if they can give any guidance on their microinverter business, etc. Because the whole kind of solar industry is kind of down, has been for quite some time now. But yeah, we'll see what happens there. I do like Enphase. I've heard it a few times. But yeah, not recently, of course. Right, let's move on. So the first chart of the day, we've got SPY. This one, there's not really a huge amount to kind of draw on this at the moment, because obviously technical analysis is very tricky for the longer term, at least right now, because the market's just been so choppy, as you can see in the last couple of weeks of trading, really. Lots of volatility. Last week wasn't so bad, but the week before, we spoke about it last Sunday, and it was all over the place. You couldn't. We said it before, it was a day trader's market, of course, but still, it was very, very hard to even day trade that. I've drawn a line here at 500, the purple line on the screen there. So that's kind of obviously a big kind of psychological level for investors and traders. And it looks like we've kind of rejected the 200 moving average, which I do believe we spoke about last Sunday.
Yep.
So we're kind of rejecting that. Are we going to make a move lower? I've got 500 in mind. What have you got in mind, Kaye?
for the drop, right? I think
Yeah.
I'm looking at my first level is 5. Let me see, where is it. Yeah, 507 is where I see some support. 516, then 57. That's around what I'm looking at right now.
Kind of looking at August lows then from
Yeah,
last year,
yeah.
that kind of area.
But I think before that, we actually do have a gap, right? That is around this level of 549. Um, but I seems like it that this 20-day SMA, we have not been able to break that for since the start of the April. Like, feels like forever. For few trading days, we have been trading below that. I think the resistance that I really see, the most of the volume that trading is happening is between the 534 and going to 540. That's where majority of the action is happening, honestly.
It's kind of area that we're in now almost, isn't
Yeah.
it? Could you see a bounce here potentially, or not so much? Do you see
I
further
mean,
downside?
we could see the gap fill happening in the short term, right? If we get some kind of a catalyst on the deals, like for example, let's say they make like 3-4 deals in an entire week, we could see a short term rally, and we could see that the gap fill happening. But would we be able to break the 200-day SMA? That is going to be a very massive resistance for SPY, and with the death cross happening, right? That's another challenge.
And when you say gap fill, which gap are you talking about? Sorry,
The gap fill is here, right? So we had a drop down.
you're talking about this one here.
Yeah, it's a very small gap. Exactly. This from 548.49 to what, 553?
Yeah, so this one here, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, just for people looking on the screens, obviously you're looking at your chart and talking to it, but I couldn't represent where that would be
Yeah,
on
that's
my
exactly
chart.
the gap.
It's this,
Yes.
this gap here, yeah.
Yeah.
So interestingly, if you do fill that gap, it looks like we're kind of breaking that downwards trend line as well, which would be interesting to see if that kind of
But
coincides with that move.
you would need some massive catalyst for it, right?
Oh,
It's
God,
not,
yeah,
it's
yeah.
not going to be these earnings. Like I think what's going to happen this earnings season, this is again my opinion, is you will not get guidance from a lot of companies because they don't know what's going to happen next quarter because of all the opportunities.
All the uncertainty, yeah, of course. It's not going to be easy to give guidance in that kind of environment. And we'll move on to the Qs. It looks much the same. Rejection off of the 200 moving average, and obviously we've got that trend line, which is quite similar. I've got 420 in mind, which ironically I think is today's date. So I don't know why that even matters, but yeah, I've got 420 down here as recent kind of support. I think it goes back a little bit more in terms of volume profile, but I couldn't fit it on the page, otherwise it looked too ugly. Have you got any levels for QQQ before we move on to our
No, I think I agree with you on the levels. It's like 425, 424, like that. But yeah, it's a 420, 425 level. That's what I'm also watching.
Yeah, that kind of area. And that would be nice if we can get down there. Well, I say if we can get down there. If we do get down there and make a little bit of a base there, that'd be ideal because obviously it'd be a bit of a higher low, which would be good for the technical traders long term. But of course, it could be quite traumatic if we actually break down that lower, break those higher lows in a lower fashion. But yeah, that's the QQQ. Obviously, put your tickers in the comments as well. We've had a few come in already, and we've probably got about 20 minutes worth, I think, roughly looking at it. But it seems to be we're kind of flying through this at the moment. So if you could put your tickers in the comments, we'd be happy to get to them, give our perspectives, our thoughts on your charts, your tickers. We're happy to do so. So yeah, with that, we'll move on to the first pick of the week from me, and I've gone for Robinhood. Not one I actually trade too much, to be honest with you. And I know it's quite popular.
The funny pick is one of the requests was Robinhood, so you're already.
Oh, okay, fantastic. I didn't see that. Good job you're keeping an eye on that. But yeah, of course, Robinhood, we can get it here. There's lots of technical things I can talk to here. But generally, it's quite a highly thought of stock, especially with all this volatility going on. Obviously, they're going to benefit from that, in my opinion, in the last couple of months. It'd be interesting to see what they say on their earnings report, which I believe is due just before May. So we're looking at probably the next 2 weeks, I guess. I don't know the exact date.
I'll tell you the exact date. Give me 1 second.
Exact date. And while you're looking for that, I'll just talk to the chart then. So we've got obviously the mad week we had a couple of weeks ago. We've kind of pushed it back above that on Monday of this week just gone. I don't know, hang on, that would be Friday. So basically we pushed above this trend line and we come back down and kind of retesting this level. But we're also retesting the level of the trend line that's kind of been set for the last previous kind of several months or so.
April 30th.
Sorry?
April 30th.
April 30th. Okay, wow, yeah, awesome. quite, so it's not long away, about 10 days or so.
Yeah.
And then we've got this kind of range here between 37 and 42. I like it in this area. Could be around about kind of 39 to kind of 42. I don't know if I'll start a trade, but I'm interested in starting a trade. And if you follow me on various socials, you'll know when I get into it. But yeah, for now, I'm kind of just keeping an eye on it. I like the way it's kind of sitting up for a potential move higher. But lots of things kind of have to kind of coincide with the kind of market happenings at the moment. What are your thoughts on Robinhood?
So I generally don't trade Robinhood often, but I'm noticing like on FinTwit now, folks are moving away from SoFi to Robinhood now. Especially the voices on that were very popular for SoFi have slowly started shifting there to Robinhood. And one of the couple I saw, there was I forget the name of the account, but they were having a lot of back and forth on why Robinhood is going to be is a better deal for Gen Zs compared to other accounts like Thinkorswim or Fidelity or other those.
Yeah,
I don't think Robinhood is there yet to compete with Fidelity and Thinkorswim and those, but I see why Robinhood is a very popular. It's first of all, it's the UI is amazing,
it's
right?
just it's easy, isn't it? It's very easy to use, get used to, and stuff.
Exactly. They have gamified it, and but again, it's end of the day, it's for me personally, I'm not that interested in that kind of stock.
I've seen they've started doing different things on it. I haven't been able to access it over here in the UK, but they've kind of gamified it in such a way you can bet on kind of football matches or something, or something like that as well. I think I saw that somewhere. It'd be interesting to see if anyone's actually taking any of those kind of contracts. I guess you take them on that kind of side of things.
I thought. Oh, so you're talking about those betting,
like the events, the events.
Yeah. I think they did run a special one when the Trump and Kamala Harris were competing, right, for the election. They had that options contract for the betting. I just didn't know that was temporary or they are actually launching. Most likely they'll probably be launching. Think about DraftKings, right? DraftKings has so much success doing on the betting side. What does it take for Robinhood to actually bring that on their platform, right? It's really amazing. Yeah, it's really an amazing. It's going to be an arm of, let's say, Robinhood. So I see why the bulls of Robinhood are getting super excited about it.
Yeah, and with that, you've obviously got your kind of gold card and things like that as well. So they're kind of adding to their product line. It's only going to bring in more revenue over time. So yeah, Robinhood is definitely kind of one to look forward to for the future potentially. Whether this is the right time to buy is a different question. But I believe the setup to be quite nice here. But of course, as I mentioned before, I'm not getting into it just yet.
But don't you think that is making like a lower high? I think we are in the descending channel.
Yeah, of course. I mean, you've got this bit here and here, but the original technicals I've got is the trend line coming through, which in my textbook personally is a breakout here, coming back down for a retest. But if we're coming back down for a retest on another different set of trend lines as well, that adds to my confidence, in my head at least.
Okay.
I could be totally wrong. We could be laughing at my pick this time next week. But yeah, that's. I mean,
you have won 6 weeks, 6 weeks in a row.
That's
so
true.
I'm
Yeah.
on you, so.
I did check the results earlier as well, and I did win last week as well. So that's 6.
Yeah, that's 6 in a row.
I wasn't going to bring it up. I wasn't going to bring it up.
I was like, no point in it.
Awesome. Right, we'll move on then. Obviously, you can find me on X, SeanTrades_, and the same on YouTube. I'm releasing regular YouTube videos every couple of weeks, so go check that out. And I've got the trading community as well, TTR. It's currently 50% off with Spring_50. You can access that on my X profile for 50% off. It's literally going to run until tomorrow night. So yeah, with that, we'll move on to Kaye's pick of the week, and that I believe is SMCI.
Yeah. So I think one of the requests last week was SMCI, and we've been tracking SMCI for a while now. At least personally for me, it's at a very, very interesting place. And if you look at the chart, we are at the descending triangle, and then the support at what's this level of support? It's like 30.54, and then we are almost at a crossroad where either we are going to see a breakout or a breakdown. This is getting very tight at this level. If you get a breakout, I think we could probably go and start to retest the levels of 35, 30, even 40 over there. But if you see a breakdown, we could see like some support coming in around the 25, 26 level. That's what I see happening. But we are getting to a point where we could see a breakout, right? Now, the way I am playing this one, and this is, let me see when the earnings are. The earnings are on 5/12. So we got like about, what, 4 weeks? 4 weeks, yes, 4 weeks. There are 8 down revisions. So assuming that the folks are thinking that the stock is going to go down, it's not going to perform as well. They did miss last time on their last earnings report. They did miss it. So the way I'm playing is for a very, very long term in terms of the leaps. So this is where I'm using the synthetic long. And so for those who don't understand, synthetic long is basically I'm buying a leap, and then I'm financing the leap option, call option, by selling a put. And I'm buying at different levels. So I have one at 40, I have one at 32, and then I have one, I'm waiting for it to break down in the 20s. So what basically I'm doing is I'm trying to control for 2027. I expect the stock to be above at certain level. So that's the trade I am playing in. So it's not a day trade. It's a really long position trade that you're looking to play on. So it's just not just buying call option, because if I buy a call option, I have to pay a lot of money for leaps. So I'm financing those through synthetic long. That's how I'm playing it. For short term, if you really want to play, maybe wait for the direction, whether it's a breakout or breakdown, and then maybe you can, if it's a breakdown, you can probably see do a call credit spread, or if you see a breakout, maybe do a put credit spread, something like that on those lines. But that you have to wait for this breakdown to happen.
I think a lot of people would just be going for the leaps in general, wouldn't they? I'm not too sure they'd be up for the synthetic long, but that sounds a little bit confusing, but it's definitely doable, I think.
Yeah, I mean, if you don't know it, and if you just buy, so what ends up happening is with synthetic long, it gets a little bit more riskier, because you're basically selling an option which says that you're going to buy the stock at this level. So while you are basically also saying, hey, you're buying the call option and you're selling the put option, it's basically you're financing it. However, you are still on the hook for buying those stocks if the stock continues falling down. I think the key over here is that the valuation is in favor of SMCI. Like, it's really, the valuation is like you're really getting the stock at a very, very cheap multiple. That is the key. And the big downside of SMCI was that they were in this whole debacle about their accounting problem, right? So that seems to have slowly subsided, but the stock hasn't recovered, also part in general because of the impact on the semiconductors and the tariff and all that stuff happening. But I think as those things starts to subside, and I don't think that's going to subside in next week or 3 months from now. It may take couple quarters. That's why I'm setting up for a longer term trade, giving myself enough time for it.
And you spoke about asymmetrical bets at the beginning of the year. Would you suggest that this be in that kind of bracket, or is this?
This is actually asymmetrical bet for me, at least personally.
Yeah.
And that, but you need time for those asymmetrical bets to play. It's like right now, it's not looking like it. You could see a breakdown to the 20s, but that's how you set it up, because the valuation will really come in play at some point in time, right? Not this month, not next month, not next quarter either, right?
No, I mean, just from a chart perspective, from my point of view, is obviously I'm waiting for this break. I mean, you spoke about it a few times within that kind of conversation. But yeah, for me, definitely a break would be one I wait for. If we get a punch down lower, I'll still be waiting for that break of the trend line long term, which I'm kind of what you said almost, but it's just kind of what I look for within a chart, I guess, for people to have a look at.
Yep.
But yeah, no, I like it. I've written it down actually, so I'm looking forward to kind of dive into that one a little bit more and see if it actually kind of breaks out this week coming. Have we got earnings? Did you mention that?
Yes, earning is on 5/12, so 4 weeks from now, basically.
4 weeks from now, so still got a little way for earnings. Then perhaps there might be a bit of anticipation going into earnings. People might be buying it going into it.
Yeah,
people might be selling it to go into it potentially. But it's definitely interesting stock.
And as you can see on the chart, right? I mean, all those different are resistance levels. So it's not going to be like a shot. Even if it breaks out, you're not going to like break from 30s to $80, right? You have all these different resistance levels that you have to break And then I haven't even added the moving averages. Those are resistance as well. So
yeah. But this stock can move on the other side of that, because you've got even a move from here over the course of about 3 weeks from about 25
yeah,
to 63. So it can move, so you can catch that.
yeah.
But I wouldn't start kind of going for the bottom or catching a falling knife. Wait for your rules to play out and kind of anticipate that as well. Not you personally, I'm talking about the viewers.
Yeah, absolutely. Everybody has different way you are trading.
Exactly
Right?
right, yeah.
If you're doing day trading, you have to wait for your confirmation, however you want the setup to be.
Exactly. And with that, where can we get you then, Kaye?
Well, you can find me on X or Twitter. I pretty much post on a daily basis. YouTube, I haven't updated anything, but in the next 2 weeks or so, I'll pick it back up because my work has been super crazy. And then once my YouTube picks up, I'll be updating my trades on Substack as well in a written format.
Awesome. Looking forward to it. Looking forward to getting back onto YouTube. I do like the content you provide. I'll get the charts ready in a second. Have you got the list up and ready?
Yes, I have the list ready for
I think we've got quite a few tickers as well today, so we can rattle through them. Let me just get the chart sorted out. I thought I prepared this earlier, but apparently not.
Good thing is that you already covered one of the requests, so we can.
There you go. And if you did miss that, you can rewind about 15 minutes or so, I believe. Right, I'm ready to go. Here we go. Let's put it back up.
All right, the first one is going to be Tesla. Kick
Tesla,
it off.
what a surprise. What a surprise. I thought that one might come up this week. We have earnings on Tuesday after. If you came in late, obviously you may not know. You probably do know if you want Tesla, but you do have earnings after market on Tuesday. I'll be listening to it. I may stream it. I'm not too sure. See what I'm doing on the day. But yeah, it looks like we're kind of currently in this wedge at the moment, Kaye. Just kind of waiting for a break. I said it last week. I said it the week before. Waiting for a break, and earnings will probably provide that break. But obviously I had to dig into the report and see why it's broken. And how to kind of play it from there onwards, if I play it at all.
Yeah, I mean, with Tesla, a couple things that you need confirmation on. Number one is, what is the reason they are going to give for the decline in sales? Most likely, they're going to say they'll put that on the refresh of Model Y. That's the reason you see decline in sales. That's most likely going to be the formal statement from Tesla. Number two is going to be information on robotaxi event. Will they be announcing a date? I think that is going to be another catalyst that could push the stock higher. Thirdly, they will talk about how is the tariff on steel and aluminum going to impact the Tesla's margins, gross margin. I think another question that might pop up is what's in the long-term plan for Mr. Musk? Is he going to focus on Tesla, or is he going to be busy playing politics in White House? Right. I'm pretty sure somebody's going to bring it up. And then I think the other question would be, are we still on track for coming up with a sub $30,000 cheaper electric vehicle? I think that I don't know. Maybe I read it somewhere. Maybe it was just imagination. I think they kind of push it back again to 2020.
I don't know. Actually, I didn't hear that one. I don't follow Tesla news that closely, to be honest with you. I normally just it normally pops up on my feed and kind of go through that way. But it wouldn't surprise me. They delay a lot, don't they? They delayed the event last year and might delay it again this year, perhaps. But
Tesla, yeah. So on April 18th. I see a news on Seeking Alpha. Tesla said to have delayed US production of cheaper Model Y.
Yeah,
that's Model Y. That's not the cheaper model that's not the sub $30,000 car. Interestingly, the new Model Y is actually available to be picked up today. So I checked at different spots. I checked it in New Jersey. I checked it in Rhode Island. I checked it in Massachusetts. The gray, the silver, the white, depending on the location, you can pretty much pick it up on the day. Like today, if I want, I can go pick it up.
Demand.
The demand has really plummeted because this was not the case before. Like when the Model 3 refresh launched, there was like a good 2 to 4 weeks. And again, I don't follow Tesla demand like this often, so I could be wrong. But for folks who track it, you can check it for your location. Barring few colors like a black or a red, which probably are more expensive colors, the cheaper ones are available.
So taking it back to the chart then, which is obviously what's on the screen and we're kind of roughly talking about, A lot of those things which you mentioned, about 4 or 5 things there, which is interesting if you want to go back and listen to that in the post recording, that could have been already impacted in the price action in the last kind of basically 6 months or so.
Yeah.
So that could have already been baked in, probably not all of it, but some of it perhaps. So then you've got to start kind of weighing out risk to reward and that kind of asymmetrical side of things. I don't think we're there yet. I think there is another leg lower potentially. We might get that on Tuesday, of course. We might get the implication of that starting perhaps on Tuesday. But on the other side of that, we could also get the positive side of things. So Musk comes out, he says he's going to concentrate on it, etc. And obviously deliveries are not as bad as they seem, although they kind of look pretty bad. But yeah, I think demand is definitely an issue at the moment for Tesla, because you've obviously got lots of different brands kind of happening. The China market is growing, of course.
And you don't have to go far, right? You can look at Dan Ives and Gene Munster, who are the biggest bullish analysts for Tesla. I mean, they are pretty much saying the same thing on every single channel they go. Interestingly, again, this is a little off topic because we brought up Tesla. Dan Ives have been going to Bloomberg a lot more than CNBC now, because Bloomberg is, I think, a little bit more bearish on Tesla as opposed to CNBC folks. So you see Dan Ives, giving more interviews there these days.
Yeah.
And interestingly, I don't know if you guys follow Dan Ives. He used to wear a lot of Hawaiian shirts, right? All these very colorful green, pink, and all these shirts. His shirt also changed. Like, it became like a solid color T-shirt. I was very surprised to see, like, what happened to all those flying colors? It seems like since the market has been down, the portfolio has been down. So he has also kind of toned down his
slightly less flamboyant clothing.
Exactly.
Kind of representing the market as in the state it is. Look at us commenting on fashion on this TTT episode.
Let's move. Next one is
move on. Yeah.
Uber.
Wow.
Yeah, very, very interesting level of Uber, because I did take a trade last week, and I think Uber is in this this range of $70 to about $76, $75, $77 range since, I would say, from mid-February. And that's basically where I'm trading.
I don't really know what to look for on this chart.
It's sideways trading right now, and I think the key, and I think it's not just the earning for Uber. I think the real event for Uber is the launch of robotaxi. How is that going to impact robotaxi? Is it overblown, or is it really a threat to Uber's existential threat to Uber? Right, that is the key event for Uber.
I still think it's not an immediate threat, though. Even if it was to kind of play out and the robotaxi is very successful, I still don't think robotaxi is going to be here straight away. Yeah. It's going to be an eventual process, in which case at the moment Uber will still dominate that field.
My point is like, okay, so again, playing devil's advocate here. So let's say robotaxi gets launched in June. It's the best thing that has happened in the world so far, and it's perfect. But the scaling is going to take time, right? Because if you're going to run taxi business, which means that you will need, in one city, you will need hundreds of taxis to run, so that the taxi is available for people to actually use the taxi. Because if I'm going to have a 20-minute wait time to go to the airport on Tesla app versus on Uber, it's a 5-minute, I'm probably going to go to Uber and just take the taxi to the airport. So, which means that Tesla will really have to scale. That could be a 5-10 year process just to scale and become a massive network in the United States. And that is given the fact that nothing wrong happens. Many things could go wrong, right? You could have an accident, completely pushes back the timeline. That's, that most likely could happen, right? Change of government in the next 4 years, that could throw off your plan altogether. Many things could happen. So I agree. I don't think Uber is going to have an existential threat anytime soon.
Yeah.
But that could change. But again, I don't think nothing's happening in the next 2 quarters.
Or even the next 2 years.
Yeah. And that is just United States. What happens in US, it doesn't mean that the robotaxi is just gonna, fly and take over the entire world. Uber is everywhere. Uber, and I don't know if guys who are just in the US, you understand that Uber now has two-wheelers and three-wheelers in Southeast Asia, South Asia. They even have autos and motorbikes as part of the Uber network. So places where it's not just the car and the taxi or electric vehicles, right? They actually have these different mode of transportation on Uber. It's
Yeah,
a
I mean, they're the Netflix, aren't they, of this industry?
Yeah.
And that's what's kind of represented in the price action in the last kind of 4 or 5 years. But yeah, I mean, a bit of a sideways action in the last probably 14 months or so. So we do need to kind of get a bit of a breakout above this kind of 82 level. It'll be interesting to see if we can get that in the next few weeks, maybe perhaps. We've got earnings just around the corner on the 5th of May. So yeah, interesting to see what happens.
Okay, next is Confluent, CFLT.
CFLT. We've had a few people come in with NVDA. We will be getting there, don't you worry.
Yep.
But first, we have Confluent. Looks like we're kind of trading within this channel still, okay?
Yeah.
I don't know when we brought this up last, but I've already got the lines here and I don't trade it, so it must be from one of these sessions.
I think it was like 3 weeks back, 2 to 3 weeks back. And
Okay.
the earning is coming up on 4/30th. So I think it's a Wednesday, next to next week.
That's interesting. I've got the 28th of April here.
28th, it's on Seeking Alpha, it's on 4:30. But, one of these guys are...
Oh, yeah. No, yeah, you're right. I had it on the weekly chart. That's why I couldn't see it. But yeah, I mean, look at the chart. It's quite nice from a long kind of range. I mean, you like to trade range-bound stocks. Is this range a bit too big though? Because it's got $18 to $34. It's quite a big range.
It is actually a pretty big range, and you would want to actually narrow the range if you're going to trade the wheel strategy for.
Yeah.
Because wheel strategy only works in a range-bound stock. It doesn't work very well if the stock is breaking out or breaking down a lot, right? So you want to find a tighter range for it. So, I mean, I think the majority of the volume shelf with Confluent is between this $19 and this $21.70, $22. So $19 to $22 is, you could play that range if you really want to, narrow the range on through the volume shelf.
Yeah, I mean, for me personally, I've been looking for a breakout either way. I don't trade the wheel strategy too much or whatever, but I'll be looking for a break lower because that seems pretty cool, or a break higher. It's very simple for me.
Yeah.
But it's interesting how we look for different kind of things and different charts. That's why we're here, for different perspectives.
Yeah, and then for the next earnings, you do have 17 up revisions on the EPS, so that's actually a good sign opposed to the 5. So you could see the business improving on that side. So I think keeping that, you still have a buy rating from Wall Street on it. A couple of holds here and there, but majority is still a buy rating. So
they don't miss earnings either. If you ever look at the kind of little shields at the bottom here, they're all green. So they don't miss earnings like ever. So
yeah.
They might have different guidance in different areas, perhaps. It's one to look out for. But generally, their earnings are pretty positive from what it looks like here on the chart.
Okay. Next up is SOFI. We have not covered SOFI.
Wow, it's been a while, actually, yeah. It's really interesting to see what they're doing, because I haven't really looked at them much either.
SOFI also has been pretty range bound, since they had made that high back in end of January of $18. The stock has been steadily on a downtrend. And lately they have been coiling around this $9.80 to $11 range, basically $11-12 range. That's where they're basically hanging out.
It's interesting to see the bounce here we got, not last week, but the week before, from this previous kind of trend line, kind of downward trend line way back in last year-ish and partly 2023, kind of bounced off of that on the dramatic week we had a couple of weeks ago. So congratulations if you got in then. You're kind of up already about 10-15%. No, probably 20-30% actually. But now I think it's all about kind of bouncing off of these two moving averages. This is the weekly chart as well, so you think it'd be technically a little bit stronger. But yeah, we've got the 200 moving average and the 50 moving average here. If we dive into the daily chart, see what's going on, sat right at that 200 moving average. So it'd be interesting to see if we can get a bit of a push off that. Plenty of volume at this level as well, actually. So this is kind of in the zone, which I've previously drawn from, I guess, previous session. We can pop out of here in a positive fashion, and yeah, it could be quite quite a good one. Did you mention earnings?
Earning is 429 pre-market.
So that's next Monday, I guess, isn't it?
Not the next week, the following week.
Oh yeah, because trading days and all that.
Yeah. So the following. So, I mean, considering it's SOFI, most likely they're going to beat their top line and bottom line. It's it's really been it's a rare scenario that they have missed it. The last time they missed was in 2023 September. Their EPS. So I don't expect that to be a miss. So we'll see how that plays out. But so far, Wall Street has a hold rating on the stock.
I'm sure lots of people will be covering it and getting quite excited around the earnings. So it'll be one to follow for sure. I don't hate it, actually. I want to keep it on my watch list. I think it could be interesting for a possible breakout.
Yeah, so I already have an open trade with SoFi. So basically, I've sold an option, and then I basically have been rolling those options. So hopefully, if we can get a pop, I can eventually close that options contract.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I have to keep rolling it, and just blocks my capital.
Awesome. I think that was Money Manager who brought up so far. And I think Net must be next.
Yes.
We appreciate you coming back week after week, Money Manager. So we'll probably see you next week as well. So, yeah, was it Net?
Yeah, Cloudflare.
Oh, similar sort of setup to SoFi, actually, kind of coming back into a zone that I've previously drawn and kind of using the 50 as kind of a bit of support here. I can hear me in the background a little bit. Is that? No, it's better now. I can't hear me anymore. Don't worry. Okay. Yeah. I'll hand this one over to you because you're a bit more in this sort of field. Perhaps.
So earning coming up on 5.8. From a technical standpoint, I think the 20 SMA has been a resistance for this stock, and I think the 116 is the next resistance. 116, yeah, 116. It's trading right at the point of confluence right now. So this is where all the trading, the entire volume buying, selling is happening at these levels. We still have this 200 SMA providing a good support for this stock. So if you want to day trade or maybe use the 200 SMA as your support, and you can actually maybe even have a put credit spread on this one. I don't know if I want to. I don't have the exact levels right now, but I think put credit spread using the 200 SMA could be a strategy you could employ. But keep it a weekly or a 2 weeks out option trade if you really want to, with a tighter stop loss. We might want to play this closer to the earnings because they do have 20 down revision. So you could short the stock,
Wow.
Once we get closer to the earnings.
Yeah, so the earnings is the big blue line kind of going through the screen there. So it's not too far in terms of trading action. And then the 200 moving average level is actually 96.20 currently.
Because once they dipped below the 20 SMA in February, they have not been able to break it successively, right? So you could also even have when you have the earnings, you could post-earning a pre-earnings, you could even have like a call credit spread or the 20 SMA if it breaks down further, right? So there are various ways you can play. If I'm playing for next week, I would use the 20 SMA as my call credit, and I'll use the 200 SMA as my support. That's how those are the ranges I will look into to trade in and out.
Awesome. All right, let's move on then.
Next is Amazon.
Amazon, they must be reporting soon, right?
Yeah, let me see. I think they are not this week, so probably next week, I guess.
I've got 1st of May on here.
1st of May, yes, you're right.
Looking like it kind of wants to go lower at the moment. A bit of rejection. Obviously, we did speak about that on the SPY and QQQ charts and the rejection off the 200 moving average. We can see that with quite a few actually Mag 7 stocks, which makes sense because most of them make up that percentage. But with this one, quite negative performance. And obviously, they're going to get hit around this kind of tariff news, etc. So that probably is what's driving this move, perhaps. But I've drawn a level here in between. I've had it for ages now, that kind of 155 and 170, that kind of zone. It's a pretty big zone. And we dipped into there with all the volatility a couple of weeks ago. Looking forward to it to kind of coming back into that level for a long-term position add. In terms of trading, probably going to stay away from this one for now. What are your thoughts on Amazon, Kaye?
I think you're absolutely right. I think the tariff if the China tariff is not resolved, I think Amazon retail is going to take a massive hit. And you also see the 50 SMA inching closer to the 200 SMA for death cross. So just like we already had the death cross on SPY and QQQ, you're now going to see it on Amazon, and that is not a good sign. We could see a real pullback on Amazon at these levels.
Yeah, tricky one for Amazon at the moment.
Yeah.
Sorry, Justin, if that's not what you wanted to hear. But we'll move on to your next one. We'll go to Microsoft, which I think is probably looking in a similar, maybe slightly better price action wise, but similar sort of fashion. Yeah, big projection off of the 200 moving average there of the red line, coming back into the zone, which I quite liked. But obviously, we did dip below that throughout that kind of volatile week we had. So perhaps maybe kind of 350, 355 is somewhere we want to settle to create that kind of higher low for Microsoft, potentially around that kind of yellow line I've just drawn there. So anywhere around there would be quite good for a higher low. I've drawn this zone for a reason, so we could potentially get a bit of a bounce in this zone, but we'll find that out tomorrow and the days following that. Any thoughts on Microsoft? Obviously, we've got earnings probably around the corner as well, okay?
Yeah, 4/30th is the earnings. We have 19 up revisions, 11 down revisions. I think the key would be on how. So there are two key news events for Microsoft, right? One is what are their plans for the AI data center? Are they going ahead? Are they stalling the investment on data center? That's going to be key because that's also going to impact all the chip makers. And secondly is Microsoft, because Microsoft is the real king, I would say, in terms of softwares, right? They can feel, they're everywhere. So they are the first ones that can tell if businesses are pulling back on spending, whether on digital transformation like moving their on-prem to cloud, whether investing in stocks, not stocks, sorry, whether buying softwares, or slowing their spending, increasing their sales cycle. So I think Microsoft earning is probably going to be very important, not just for the Microsoft per se, but just to kind of see from an industry standpoint on how companies are looking on, are they holding off on their dollar, on their purse, and they're not spending money. And that's going to be very, very key. Because if you hear anything, like if Microsoft even gives you that sentiment, I guarantee you all the other bigger players like Adobe, like Salesforce, like ServiceNow, they're going to have a very, very similar statement from their earnings. So very key.
It'd be like a snowball effect, wouldn't it? Kind of
Yeah.
rolling downhill. Yeah.
And Microsoft being such a big juggernaut that, if they are going to start feeling it, I'm telling you, the smaller software companies will have a very hard time.
It's a very tricky one. Tricky earnings season ahead, for sure.
Yeah. So we had somebody ask for TLTW. So TLT is a treasury, 20-year treasury that generally you and I, we don't go towards the bond side that much. So I'm not that.
Did you get the Upstart request? Is that in there? Because that's we've got that before Amazon. Yeah, I think we missed that from NNH.
Okay, so
I've got it here before Amazon and Microsoft. I don't think we covered that. So
okay, so let's touch Upstart and then we can go to
yeah, we'll jump to TLF, what it was before after that.
Yeah,
my words mixed up today. Right, Upstart. I don't know what's going on with this chart. So I don't think I've been on here for a while.
What do they do? I totally forgot. What do they Upstart?
You sound like that analyst. I actually don't know. I don't know.
So with
I have known, but I
Upstart Holdings, together with subsidiaries, operates a cloud-based AI lending platform in the US. Funny how everybody has become AI now. Like till 2022 November, nobody was AI. Everybody's AI now. Anyways, company operates through 3 segments: personal lending, auto lending, and others. Platform includes personal loans. Okay, so it's basically in the consumer finance sector. Okay.
But it's not really much in the way of technical analysis here either. I mean, we have obviously a big volume shelf, which is to be expected with all the price action you see on the screen around this 35 level, which we've seen a bit of a reaction of in the last couple of weeks. But this is the weekly chart. Obviously, moving average is really far away, which makes sense. Dive into the daily chart. There's still not much going on. Obviously, lots of volume around this sort of area. if I'm not really interested in this unless we get back above it, well, in a positive fashion at least, unless we get back above these 2 moving averages here. For me at least, at the moment, it could be used as resistance just to get back down to this level. So it could be a quick. So what I mean by that is if the stock moves up, we come up to here, hit the moving averages and come back down. I'll be looking for that move on the way back down if I was going to trade it at all, which I probably won't. It's a quick 16% because it'll probably react pretty quickly on that side of things. That probably would be a day trade if I was going to do that, but I probably won't.
And just keep in mind that it has a 21% short interest. So you could see if for some reason the shorts have to cover, you could see a big price movement.
Yeah, I mean, if you're looking at this for that kind of prospect, I guess you could call it, then you could allocate maybe a very small percentage of your trading portfolio to it. If you're kind of into that kind of risk on kind of environment. Obviously, this definitely is a risk on, well, not a risk on environment, it's a risky environment. So if you wanted to, there's no harm in doing that. It'd be a bit of a gamble, but you're entitled to kind of trade however you want to trade. Just be careful with those kind of moves. We've seen people get burnt time and time again. I mean, look at GME and AMC in the past. It can be pretty tough if you get short squeezed against, if that makes sense.
Okay.
Anyway, what's next?
Next one is a TLT, which is 20-year treasury. Yeah. I think the bond per se, it's like, I know you and I, we don't cover bonds that much, but I'll just share my opinions. It's an opinion, with disclaimer. If the world does not feel that the US is a safe haven for investment and nobody and folks are not buying the treasuries, that's going to be a problem.
That is a problem. Yeah.
And as of how things are playing right now, it doesn't instill confidence in the parties to buy US debt. So I don't know what else to say. I mean, because there are so many different opinions. I know there are a lot of bullish folks on the treasury side, but as of right now, things are on very shaky ground. What do you think about from a technical standpoint, Sean? If you want to look at TLT as a trade, I know they asked for TLTW, but we are looking at TLT right now. I think it's
Well, I've got TLTW here.
Oh, you have got TLTW. Okay, so.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, from a technical point of view, you've got this obviously long-term downtrend, like really long-term downtrend from all the way towards the end of 2022. So, I mean, you could trade kind of technical trading on bonds doesn't really exist for me. I don't think it makes too much sense. And that might be a contrary opinion, but for me, I like to have like technical analysis on stocks and some ETFs, to be honest with you. But bonds, I think it's a bit more of a different market, a bit of a trickier market to actually technically trade, if that makes sense. So I mean, I can offer you a line here and say yes, if it breaks that, then fantastic. But that I wouldn't go ahead and jump on that, if that makes sense.
And if you like really look at a day chart, right, daily candles, and you'll start to see the 20 SMA cross the 200 SMA. The 200 SMA is still on the uptrend, and the 50 SMA is slowly starting to flatten out.
What chart are you looking at?
The TLTW daily.
Okay.
But
I mean,
then
I've got mine just going straight down.
Yeah, so I'm surprised. Unless on Webull they're pulling something else. It's the price is what 20
23.21.
23.21. Yeah, so that's the correct one.
I think I might have some different moving averages. I've got smoothed.
Okay.
So mine are a bit more straight, I guess.
So maybe our settings could be different, right?
Yeah. Either way, it's not looking great from a technical point of view. And like you said, it's one to look at. The volatility is definitely increased as well for this, because you can see the bars are just much bigger compared to what we've seen at all in the last, what looks like a year. So yeah, definitely worth keeping an eye on if you're concerned about bonds.
And bond is a bigger market than the equities, right? So that's something. Yeah. We have a couple comments on if you want to pull those comments up from Ken.
Yeah, so we've got what you think of China still buying record amounts of gold in the last 2 months. Are they setting up for the BRICS? So the BRICS, I think, is Brazil, Russia, India,
China and South Africa.
There you go. Thank you for finishing that off for me. I had a bit of a brain freeze.
And there are a couple other countries. So I mean BRICS is, it's not an, I mean it's not an, I mean you can call it an economic bloc, but it's not like NATO, right? It's different. And I know there are a lot of folks that talk about the BRICS currency. The problem is that in the BRICS itself, like the difference between China versus Russia versus India versus South Africa, it's too dispersed. So I don't know if the de-dollarization is going to happen anytime soon, or at least in our lifetime. But could it begin? If USA continues to behave erratic, I'm pretty sure things will at least move. We won't know as retail traders or retail investors. Those things will happen behind the scene, but looks highly unlikely at this point in time, considering the amount of trade that happens with dollar at this point.
Yeah, I mean, you can see the gold representation here on the screen. This is the weekly chart. It's basically just been straight up for the last 2 years. It's incredible, especially the last 6 months or so.
Yeah, I think so. What Ken is bringing up, like it's close to impossible to replace US dollar. But here's the point: nobody's replacing the US dollar. They don't need to trade in US dollar. They can trade in that. So as long as they can trade within their own currency, you're not using US dollars to trade.
No, exactly.
So when India was buying the oil from Russia, they were trading in Indian rupee.
So no need to even touch the dollar. Does that weaken the dollar?
The demand definitely goes down, right?
Yeah. I mean, we've been seeing that, haven't we, recently?
Yeah. And if USA continues to behave the way it's behaving, you're putting a tariff on the entire world. I mean, you think from yourself, like, would you want to, deal with somebody who continues to be unstable?
Yeah, and we've still got here. It was still devalue, like euro has permanently devalued US dollar, but didn't replace it.
Yeah, I think we just think of a complete in black and white situation, but most likely it's going to be gray, right? Dollar will remain dollar dominant currency, but there are very other bigger economies as well, right? I mean, they don't really need to. I mean, if let's say Japan and India, they decide to have trade, in yen, right, or Indian rupee, right? If they increase the trade, they could do that. They could cut US dollar out of the picture, right?
And then, of course, we've got Bitcoin as well, but we won't dive into that. But we've got a few more tickers to fly through. We've probably got about 5 minutes left. We've
All right,
really excelled the time today. It's been really quite fun. It's quite some fun discussions. So keep on the comments coming in. Maybe not today, but come back next week. We'll be here 1 p.m. Eastern time every week, unless there's other things going on. But yeah, keep them coming in with the comments. We'll be here for you. What's next, Kaye?
Next is Google.
Google. This one's a bit depressed at the moment. Yeah, I mean, I have this trend line drawn for Google. It's just not, it kind of respected it. And it came back down to retest it, but then came straight through it. But yeah, just like the Microsoft chart and of course the Amazon chart as well, big rejection off the 200 moving average. And we're kind of seeing that play out. Perhaps I was a touch hopeful with this kind of trend line. I mean, you can drag it down if you wanted to, but there's no point in playing with the lines. But yeah, I think around this 150 level is where I'd like it to kind of hold up. What are your thoughts, Kaye?
Similar, and I think I did do a fib retracement on it. I mean, probably 139, 142 might be, if we continue to see a downtrend, we would want to have it find support there if it breaks from here.
Awesome. All right, what's next?
NVIDIA.
NVIDIA.
Man, NVIDIA, I'm telling you, this is a.
I'll let you have this one.
This is very, very interesting, is because it's not about the stock or the fundamental anymore. It's all about what comes out of the White House, because they just went ahead and they slapped the export controls right on the H200 or H20 chips that they had most recently, and then Jensen Huang had to fly to China last week. So at this point in time, I don't know how you want to. This is not about even valuation anymore. This is about, and they had to take like a $5 billion hit on this quarter. So I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if we actually start seeing some more decline in Nvidia, and we start to come to those levels of the 95s and $90. I know a lot of folks are looking at this $82 range for Nvidia, but I think personally, if we start seeing weakness around the 80s and 90s, I mean, that's time to add.
Yeah, I mean, it's desperately trying to hold on to this 200 moving average at the moment I've got here. I've just added my rectangle, which I've had on there for quite some time, and this I'm a bit annoyed that I didn't buy in that period of volatility.
You might get another chance, you never
but
know.
I might get another chance. Exactly what I was about to say. Took the words out of my mouth there, Kaye. Plenty of volume at these levels of 85.90, as you mentioned. So that would definitely be an interest of me for Nvidia's future, at least, because we've been pretty flat now, really, technically, for a couple of years. Hang on, about a year now. So and the revenue's only gone up. I know you could argue about the kind of forward multiples, etc. But yeah, is it potentially valuable now?
Yeah, I think from a long term investment, if it's in the 80s and 90s range, you are not going to get opportunity again to invest in Nvidia if you start to miss these levels, right? So you also have to start thinking from a long term perspective. Is Nvidia starts to become cheap, especially in the forward PE ratio, right?
Exactly.
Next is TTD. Man, this one, this stock really took a tumble, unfortunately, and it's not looking good. And the reason it's not looking good is because of all the uncertainties that are happening. We will see the companies pulling back on investment. And the first one of the first cost cutting measure that happens in most companies is they cut their marketing budget. So that's that. But I leave the technical to you, Sean. Tell me, what do you think? What's looking for you?
I just it's so negative in the last 3 months, 3 months actually. This drop here basically, as you just mentioned at the beginning of that. But this level of 42 is quite interesting. Lots of support around this area. Not a lot of volume really. Actually, I would like to see a bit more volume at that area. So perhaps people are not so interested. But a bit more volume down here at 28. So if we do get a further drop, and that's another 15% off of the current price, which would be very, very dramatic. Not what I'm looking to trade. But thank you for bringing it up, whoever it was. I'll get to that comment.
Yeah, I think if you're looking to trade, I would say wait for a confirmation.
Yeah. You could day trade it, but
found a floor, because the problem is that it has such a massive drawdown that you don't know where the floor is. Is the floor in the 50s? Could it drop to 30s? We don't know at this point in time, especially the type of business they are in, and how the general market is behaving, and the company is actually probably holding off. All right.
yeah,
Next up
classic.
is,
Don't catch a falling knife.
next up is Rio. I don't know what is Rio.
Yeah,
Rio.
Rio Tinto. It's a minerals.
Yeah. It
company.
used to be I used to look into this one when I used to trade Vale a lot.
It's a dividend paying company as well.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people like it. From a trading point of view, obviously, I mean, I don't really trade dividend stocks at all. But this 53 level seems to be quite a nice support recently as well. So if you are looking for a long-term kind of dividend perspective, then that could be a nice point to add for your future, potentially. Any thoughts on Rio before we move on?
No.
No.
Next up is Path.
UiPath, yeah.
Yeah. This, unfortunately, even though I think the potential for Path is amazing, I think the issue that they are going to run, or I think we'll probably run soon, is the sales cycle. If there's uncertainty in the market and companies are not investing it, the problem is the cycle is going to be longer. Do the companies really want to spend money on? So if you understand the basic business of the Path is automation, right? They are always into automation, which means that the companies have to do digital transformation effort. Digital transformation effort costs dollars. They have to hire resources to run those process mapping, have this company come on, the vendor should come on, do the whole RFP process, which is the best company to get the vendor on. Then once the vendor is there, you have to pay for the fees, you have to do the whole thing. That costs money. Question is, are businesses willing to do that when they have uncertainty in their main business model? Are we going to hit with tariffs? Is our cost going to go up? Do I have money to spend on buying a new software? Stuff like that. So tough time for Path. If I'm an investor, I would definitely listen to their guidance. It is going to give us the clue. Now it's the this is going to be, I would say, if you're looking for a very long term perspective, this is a very, very good company to be investing in. But at the same time, the problem is, I don't know, my time horizon, is it 3 years, 5 years?
Yeah.
That depends, right? It could drag for a couple of years.
And then with those comments you just made, obviously the kind of more on the negative side, I would say, might have see that kind of lower low perform. We had it recently on kind of beginning parts of April from the one that we set on the 13th of March. Obviously, this is a bit of a hypothetical circle here, but we are setting on lower highs as well. So it's kind of trending downwards. So potentially we might get back down to this kind of $9 level, which then you'd kind of have to weigh up the kind of potential, risk to reward for the future years, as you mentioned, whether they're spending on the right areas and whether they're performing with the right guidance. But we've got earnings here on the 28th of May, so we've still got quite a while until anything's going to be said from an earnings report point of view. So maybe one to stay away from for now. But if you're holding this long term, then just maybe reevaluate how much you've got of it and kind of go from there. Kind of go through the normal steps you should be taking when you're a long-term investor. Right. I think we might take one more and then we'll call it a day. So I've got to go eat dinner in a second. I think it's going to be ready now. We've been running for over an hour now. So I do apologize for anyone who has put in their request very, very recently.
So
what we got, Kaye?
The last one, if you want to cover, we have NEO. That is in your...
Oh, wow. I mean, what a one to finish on. That must be Mike Kaye who brought that one up. He's got NEO with a heart.
It was Mike Kaye,
eyes, yeah. I haven't really charted this one for quite some time because it's been quite tricky to chart. But generally, I mean, they released the NEO Firefly vehicle yesterday. It's about $16,000. It's a very cheap vehicle, but it's still quite well built from what I can see from all the videos. Obviously, I haven't put my hands on it yet because I don't live in China. I live in the UK. But from a chart perspective, we're not doing too badly. Because, I say that we are doing very badly. But from a technical view, in my view, that might be just me with my rose-tinted glasses on. But you can see here, let me adjust the perspective here, a long-term RSI divergence, which I've had in the chart for a couple of weeks now, which is where the interest gets bigger in terms of relative strength when the price action goes lower. So kind of that's where the divergence is, and it perhaps maybe changes the kind of long-term trend of the stock potentially. Of course, we've said this before on the daily time frame. We've said it before on the weekly time frame as well. So it's not gospel. It's just a mere observation of the chart. But the company itself, I believe, is doing very well. They've made some changes with management over the last kind of 16 months or so. And obviously, we're going to have some more information, what it looks like here on the 2nd of June, or that kind of area. So we'll be looking forward to that earnings call very much so. Every earnings call is very, very critical for NEO at the moment. So it's a tricky time, but it's still a time that's going pretty well, in my opinion. But I probably will say that because I've been a long-term bull for NEO now for quite some time, which if you follow me, you'll know. But yeah, we'll end it there. End it on NEO. I mean, what a stock to end it on. Eh? To be fair, we haven't had NEO for quite some time, have we? Okay.
Yeah, NEO has been missing. You haven't talked about NEO lately either, right? It's just not performing well, I guess.
No, I mean, I bring it up on my X profile, of course, but I haven't brought it up in this,
In this, yeah, you haven't brought up the chart of NEO for a while now.
No, exactly.
Just like I haven't brought up SOFI because I haven't been trading SOFI for a while.
Yeah. We trade what we've got on the screen as we are. Well, basically with that, that's it then, isn't really, to be honest with you. Thank you once again to Wolf for letting us use the platform. We really, really appreciate it. Up to 4,400 views on Easter Sunday. I mean, what a treat. What are your thoughts there, Kaye?
It's amazing. And I know we couldn't get to a couple tickers that you put together. There was one AMD. I would stay away from AMD, if right now it's not the time for AMD. But yeah, just stay safe, I guess, and watch the news cycle.
Yeah. We'll be back this time next week, 1 p.m. Eastern time. So if you did miss the beginning, obviously do stick around and put your comments and your tickers in straight away next week. I know the Bullish Bear got in a few late there, so maybe next week you could come a little bit earlier and we can get to those tickers as soon as possible. But yeah, thank you for everyone for watching. We'll see you same time next week, and trade safe, everyone. It's a very tricky market out there. Take care.
Take care.
Okay.